It's true.
Alright, I think, well, it's, maybe I'll wait one more minute. Competing clocks. Ready to start. So, my name is Karen Brinker, Karen Brinker, if you prefer the long version. I teach at Rowe, which is an elementary charter school in Chicago. It operates out of the Northwestern University Settlement House, which is also in Chicago in the same neighborhood. So this presentation is about using Prezi and backwards design. So just to get an idea, how many people use backwards design already? How many people are kind of familiar with backwards design? Okay. How many people use Prezi already? How many people are just kind of aware that Prezi exists? All right, great. So I didn't start using either of these actually until I started working at this charter school because it's the curriculum that they use. And so I spent the whole summer before I started teaching there kind of rewriting my curriculum and rethinking it, and it just took a lot of really critical thought to get here, and I just want to put that out there because it is kind of a venture that you have to take on if you're interested in it, but it's really worth it, and it's something that you can reuse over and over again. So I just want you to remember the design I have here because I'm going to revisit this later. I'm kind of a scatterbrained person like some of us early people are, so it helps me to think of kind of a formula to put my curriculum into so that it makes sense for me and for my students. And so this is where I start. And Prezi is, I'm going to go over this again and again, but Prezi is really great for starting with this big open canvas so that you can lay out all your ideas and then kind of organize them. So to begin at the very top, with backwards design, we start with an enduring idea or a big idea. So for this specific presentation, my enduring idea is that technology enhances. And then my rationale is using backwards design in Prezi helps art educators provide stellar curriculum while staying sane. And by staying sane, I mean it's something that you can use again and again. I'll put that up for a second in case anybody wants to make it. So the next step that comes after enduring ideas in backwards design is you think of your key concepts. And I'm going to show you a chart later that shows how this flows too. But key concepts for this presentation are keeping it fresh, thinking about using technology in new ways that keep students' attention and your attention, and then flexibility. Prezi is easily customizable to each teacher's wants and needs. And this, I might show students this chart right here, and I'll show you an example later, but some of this stuff at the top of the chart is more for me. I wouldn't necessarily show this to the students. It's almost like this is me graphing my unit plan, and I would focus more on showing them the individual lesson cards that we'll get to at the bottom. And essential questions, how does technology improve lives? How does curriculum design impact student learning? And how do students today learn best? So these essential questions, what you start your unit plan with, want to be really broad and almost cross-curricular, not necessarily art-specific. They can be because art is so broad, but I'd like to think, okay, how is this connecting students to different aspects of their life? And then objectives, so this is about you. Attendees will understand the basics of backwards design, the basics of Prezi. You will understand the purpose of combining backwards design and Prezi, and we will view an example of a backwards design curriculum that I created in Prezi. Okay, so now we're diving into more of the specifics. We started with this big, broad idea, and now we're getting a little more narrow. So I'm thinking about specific activities and lessons now. This specific objective is understanding by design. So this is the book I was handed when I got my job at Rose, saying read the book, figure it out, apply your curriculum, and then we'll meet and talk about it. So luckily I had a dean of instruction kind of help me work through it and tell me this is what you need to improve or this is what looks right. So for this specific lesson, we're going to talk a bit about backwards design. In the past, years ago, textbooks were organized by one studio project after another. Now we know good curriculum should include art history, criticism, social-emotional skills, reflection, experimentation. We're even moving beyond DBAE into all these other real-world things too, field trips, real-world experiences. And it's just, for me, it's really overwhelming to think, okay, I only have, my classes are really short, I only have 30 minutes, how am I going to cram all this in? And backwards design is a really great way for me to kind of organize my thought process. So it tells you what's most important, what are the big ideas, and how do they connect to the real world. Teacher shifts from one who dictates information to one who's a fellow inquirer, and the bottom line is that lessons aim for deeper understanding. So this is the chart I was talking about before. For us visual people, you want to start with your desired results. So I'm thinking about a unit about nature. What are my desired results? Where do I want the students to be? Not only what do I want them to make, but what do I want them to understand after this unit is over. Determine acceptable evidence. So whether it be worksheets, artworks, what's going to show you that your students have gained this understanding. And then you finally get to the planned learning experiences and instruction. So I know for me, when I first started teaching, this is where I would start with the activity. But now instead I'm backing up a little bit and thinking even broader. Some examples of enduring ideas. So where we started at the beginning with technology enhances. Here are a few other ones. Identity, survival, power, relationships, change, ritual. There's a ton of websites out there. If you're like, oh man, I need to think of an enduring idea and I just can't right now, just type in enduring ideas in art. In districts' web pages will even pop up. You'll see other art teachers that have made PDFs of enduring ideas. So there's a lot of ideas out there, and actually Art21 is a really awesome website that lists basically identity, power. Their episodes are themed like this. So it's really a great website to also go to for enduring ideas.
What was that again?
Art21, it's a PBS program. Have people seen that? A few people, yeah.
You can read it online.
Yeah. For key concepts or understandings, that next step is art is a purposeful human endeavor. Art raises philosophical questions. Art is open to interpretation. Change is fundamental to art. Again, you can find these online if you're not sure and need some examples. And then essential questions. What is art? How can I learn about others? Why should I learn about others? How has art changed through time? So we're just thinking really broad right now. And if you write down my email, I'll put it up again at the end and want me to send you. I have this as public, this presentation. I can email it to you too. The link. So National Coalition for Art Standards, these are our new big standards. There's a nice blurb on the website that describes the importance of backwards design. If you read the standards, they really follow backwards design, so it's a really great way to think about your curriculum from here on out, or how we learn these standards. Backwards design was selected for building these new standards, and the book is written by J. McTighe. Thank you. McTighe and Grant Wiggins. And I believe was it McTighe spoke at the National Convention last year? Anyway, he spoke recently at a national convention, and it was really an awesome presentation. He talked about the importance of using the new standards with backwards design, and that his wife is actually a visual art educator, so he has a strong connection to the arts. Okay, so what is Prezi? Just a quick overview. Basically, you're looking at Prezi. It's an online presentation program. Think of it as an open blank canvas instead of a slide-by-slide presentation. So PowerPoints are very much one thing after the other, where where Prezi is this big canvas where you can kind of organize your thought process. It's more visually pleasing. You can zoom in and out here and there. You can return to ideas more easily. For me, it just makes more sense, especially as an art person. And how to use Prezi. My advice is just to go to the website and kind of dive in, just experiment, make a presentation, play with it. On the help or the support link on the Prezi website, I think it actually says learn and support at the top. It has a bunch of YouTube videos that show you some tips and tricks for getting started, which are really helpful. So you can watch those tutorials. And there's just a lot of things you can play around with, frames, text, images. One of the other great things for us, our people about Prezi, is you can insert pictures from Google image search without having to first go to Google, then copy and paste it. You just go right to this button that says insert, and then you search right through Prezi for an image and then insert it directly from there. So it kind of cuts out a lot of middle steps, which is nice. Okay, so how do I combine backwards planning and Prezi, and why should I? Here, so remember at the beginning I told you to think about the design of my presentation here. So this is where I got it from. This is from Rethinking Curriculum, a text by Marilyn Stewart and Sydney Walker. And it's basically the same process I laid my Prezi out as. So I started with my enduring ideas, my rationale. I thought about key concepts, essential questions. Then I moved to objectives. Then I moved to instruction. And then at the end, which I didn't put here because I'm not going to assess you, but at the end for your units, you could put summative assessment at the very end. It's a really nice chart that helps me think through curriculum. And why I do backwards design with Prezi. So, like I said before, you can reuse your presentation each semester or trimester, whatever you do, and you can make edits. You can even make a copy, so you can keep the original and keep one with edits, which is really nice. It's easy to circle back to big ideas and essential questions. When I email this to my administration, they can see my lesson plan really clearly. So when I submit my lesson plans, I actually just I type it out, but I also submit a link that they can click on and view this. And you can share it with your peers. It's really easy to share Prezis with each other. If you go on the Prezi website, you can actually type into a search bar, I want a presentation about animals, and a bunch will pop up that other teachers have made. Well. And you might have to tweak them to make them fit your needs, but it's kind of a nice place to start. Are there any questions so far before I show an example? Yeah.
So you just do all your lessons through this program?
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? So here is my environmental art unit, which I do in the springtime with the older, well, I do a whole nature-themed spring unit for all grades, but this is specific to 3rd through 5th grade, so upper elementary. So we'll start at the top again. So, enduring ideas, environmentalism, big and broad. Rationale, we must take care of the environment in order to keep our planet healthy. Artists have unique tools and techniques to reflect and share environmental issues with others. Then I move to concepts. Nature influences art. Art about nature helps our planet. Artists are unique in how they express environmentalism. And so again, this is kind of for me, not so much, it's for my students obviously, but it's to help remind me, okay, what are these big things that I'm thinking about? Essential questions. Why do artists create works about nature? How does environmental art help our planet? And how does art change an environment? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these essential questions and pull each one down to my lessons. So I'm going to base each lesson on one of these questions. And here's some objectives. I won't read them all, but this is definitely more for me. I wouldn't go through this with the students. And if I zoom out right here, what I also did is made just a little box off to the side of the new standards that are taught in this unit. So I have that as a reference for myself as well. The other nice thing about Prezi is it's online. Of course, your internet goes down, that's a problem, and you can download it. So I could download this presentation to my desktop if the internet goes down, and I can present it that way. But it does help have everything in one place, so if you're at your work computer, you have it there, and then when you go home, you can also access it without having to worry about sending yourself files. Okay, so now we're moving into our lessons. And so I'm taking the essential question, this one first: why do artists create works about nature? And the objective is we will create observational drawings, paintings of nature. And so I have a Winslow Homer painting here, and what this is just a little blurb that I took from the museum website about Homer, mostly about this painting. I wouldn't necessarily read this to my students, but I would summarize it, and it's a reference to me when I come back at the end of the year. Maybe I forgot what this artwork was about, or just need a refresher, and so I can read this and remind myself, okay, this is what I want to tell the students.
Can you highlight in Prezi?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then I move to this part of the lesson. We start with pencil drawings from observation. I just tacked these tree pictures up, or images, photographs, whatever you prefer. And so students will draw from there. And the next day we do watercolor. And if you need to, sometimes what I do, if I have a struggling class or a class that needs emphasis on a certain part of the lesson, I'll even put greeting, reminder of expectations, watercolor, assessment at the end, so I remember the exact flow of the lesson. So you can input whatever words you need here. And then we move to part about Georgia O'Keeffe's artwork, abstracting natural object painting. And I visit the new essential questions, the same essential questions, but think about comparing and contrasting Homer and O'Keeffe. Why else do you make